You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
Go Leafs go. It is the Monday edition of Leafs Morning Take. Nick Alberga, Jay Rosehill, November 3rd, presented by Bet365.
We're poppied up.
Still stinging, dude. Still stinging. Yeah, don't really want to do this today. How are you?
Oh, the Blue Jays. I forgot almost. Brutal. Man. I don't know. For some reason, it's just like during that game, like it's one of those ones where it doesn't really cross your mind that they could still lose, you know, like it's like, how are they going to win? And like, how is this going to, but you almost resigned to your fact, like this is going to be so exciting. And then it's just like the margins are so thin. It's just like tick, tap, it's over. It was unbelievably deflating to watch that. I was on this bus trip with my oldest son up to Cranbrook and Kootenays and then down into Lethbridge and watching on our phones and data cutting in on people are ahead and behind. And then finally we got to the hotel, just piled in the lobby and watched the last couple of innings. And yeah, man, it was, I don't know. It's like not supposed to be like that. That was supposed to be one of those Cinderella deals that that sports provides. And it was just snatched from everybody. It stings is an understatement.
You've known me for a long time. I'm pretty pessimistic when it comes to Toronto sports. I was so confident the Blue Jays are winning the World Series this weekend. I felt so good about that team. I'll be frank in saying, too, I'm not an emotional person, dude. I was overwhelmed with emotion watching that game on Saturday night with 2 outs remaining. I could not, I was starting to cry, and I couldn't believe it. I'm like, they're going to do this. They're going to do this. I've been waiting my whole life for a Blue Jays championship. Ripped away by the dynasty LA Dodgers. And the crazy thing for me, it was not even the big boys. It was the depth pieces. You can tie that into a Maple Leafs conversation. That's ultimately what puts you over the top, people. Max Muncy, Will Smith, Miguel Rojas. Like that is the story for me. It wasn't Shohei. It wasn't Mookie. It wasn't Freeman. It was Yamamoto. Don't get me wrong. That guy's a mutant. But, I mean, that was the bigger story to me, man. But what an array of emotions. A roller coaster of emotions watching that series, that game, that season for that team.
Yeah, I know. And maybe it's because we're close to it, but it did seem like one of those teams that just, you know, had all those storylines and one of those teams that like genuinely like would go through a wall for each other. They loved each other. They honestly enjoyed being in the presence of each other. One of those seasons that you do not want to end. And everyone likes going to the the ballpark and being together in the clubhouse, and that shone through. And again, we saw a lot of coverage and everything else, and it's not like it's that rare, but it seemed like a special team. And to be where they were last year and to be what people thought they were this year, and to put it all together and go on that run where there was like historic performances happening, and God damn it, it just from pitching to the everything, man. And then to be right there again, I just was waiting for it to happen. And then when it didn't, it was like shocking that it's over. I thought the script was written. Devastating. I don't think it was a choke job at all. I put that tweet out there and holy smokes, there was a lot of reaction to that, thinking that's the only way to call it is a choke job. I think it was just baseball, man. Like,
yeah,
everyone's all you had to do was bop this run. Well, no shit. They were trying to do that and they had done it all day, but you know, it's easier said than done. And it just seemed like baseball to me at the end there. So many things could have gone differently. That lead off of third, the play at home. Like, come on, man. You have like a 3-foot lead. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, that's the one thing that bugs me. Not a lot of the other stuff people are pointing at. Frustrating for sure. I wasn't even thinking about the Jays this morning, and then you just brought me back into it, but disappointing to say the least.
It was a domino effect of sequence. The only reason why Connor Falefa was like a foot off the bag is because of how they got doubled up to finish off Game 6, right? And that's the one thing I'm instilling if I'm the manager or the coaches is like, don't get freeze in a liner. Like, I know it's crazy to defend the guy, but again, I think And I put this out on social media yesterday. People want to play the blame game. Who do we blame? Is it Hoffman? Is it Connor Falefa? Is it Bieber who let up the Will Smith bomb? I blame nobody. I think it's way easier in pro sports to blame a team for not competing and not working and not sweating. And you can tell. I can't rip this team, dude. They brought it. They exceeded expectations. They extracted the most value possible. Like so many amazing stories. Andreas Jimenez was outstanding hitting the ball, fielding. They had Bo Bichette on one leg. George Springer banged up oblique. Like so much went right for this team. And I tend to side with you where it's like, man, I think you lose sight of the opponent and the LA Dodgers and the payroll and the future Hall of Famers on that roster. It's a game of execution, and they executed better than the Blue Jays, plain and simple.
Yeah, the blame game is absolutely useless to me. Or the difference, the disappointments in Toronto sports. The Raptors got one done here in the recent future, so that's kind of nice. But there is a history of disappointment in Toronto sports, and with the Leafs, obviously, that we talk about, and that wasn't really part of the story that we've seen, especially with the Leafs. Like, you are proud as hell of that Jays team when it was all said and done. Yeah, shocked, incredibly disappointed, 100%. But you were so proud of the performances and the effort and the going through adversity and just willing things to happen out there. Like, everyone is proud of that team across the whole country. There's been losses in Toronto where it's like, what the hell was that? Like, you're not proud of them. You're shocked at the response and at the desperation or the lack thereof that you see during those pivotal moments in these playoff performances. It's a different story. And that's the one solace, is that you can be so proud of that team and what they accomplished and how you got behind them for good reason. On the other hand, it's like, you're crippled even that much more because it was supposed to be one of those Cinderella stories and storybook runs that goes down in history, and it absolutely would have, but then it just got snatched. So I don't know I definitely think it's better to be proud of the guys and proud of your team and look back fondly, even though it hurts, than to be disgusted at the end of a game 7 or a championship series like we've seen in the past.
It felt like destiny. And the other thing that hurts too is, like, it's going to be so difficult to get back there, right? To replicate, put that in a bottle and bring it back next October is going to be really, really difficult. I know you're rather green to this, Mark Rosie. You played here over a decade ago. You can't sit there and not tell me Toronto sports is cursed, okay? Like, there's a curse. There's a clear curse. I have never felt worse about the Maple Leafs chances than I do right now on this Monday because of the curse, okay?
Oh, boy.
That only happens to Toronto. Like, you're 2 outs away from a World Series, and it's the 9-hitter, not even Shohei Ohtani. It's the 9-hitter who goes yard and just grabs it, man. You could feel it. Like, it was right there. So many opportunities, and bases loaded, guy in third base. You can't cash. Like, it was just very Leafy, as some of you are saying right now in the chat. And I know people will push back and say, oh, the Raptors won. I don't view the Raptors the same way I view the Toronto Blue Jays. Maybe I was a kid brought up to love. Like, I loved the Raptors too growing up. Don't get me wrong, big Vince Carter guy. But it would just hit different for me personally seeing the Blue Jays, because baseball is my first love and my favorite sport, or the Maple Leafs winning a Stanley Cup, plain and simple. Like, nothing would be close to the Leafs winning the cup, but I just want one, man. Just give me one and I'll be happy. I was telling my mom last night, because I was telling my folks I was overwhelmed with emotion. I'm like, they're actually going to do this. I've been waiting my whole life. And to have it snatched from your paws that way, man, is an ugly feeling. I don't want to feel that again, but I love sports. I'll say that.
It's kind of the thing, the disappointment. It's like, the time it takes, like 30 years since they were there, and then to be 2 outs away, and then, like, do we have to start another? Like, everyone's like, we'll see you next year. We got the core of our team together. But again, one of the special things about that run from the Jays is that how magical it was and how everything came together, and they found that special stuff that all teams are looking for. You can't just do that again because you have the same roster. Like, they were dead last in last year. Like, it does sting for sure. It's hard, but I don't know. Going through the adversity, maybe it'll make it that much sweeter when something does happen. Although any of that sounds a long ways away from right now. But hey, Leafs are still Leafs are
yeah,
going,
baby.
Leafs are happening here right now. Let's
I was
talk
gonna
some
say,
Leafs. They're the hot team.
I'm into it. I know it's a Leafs podcast, but I appreciate all of you letting us vent for a couple minutes because that was just a really, really difficult one to swallow over the weekend. Our Super Chat charity partner is Sick Kids. Want to make sure their question or comment gets on the show. Hit us up with a Super Chat. Proceeds from our Super Chat will go to Sick Kids, ranked the #1 research-intensive children's hospital in Canada and 3rd in the world. So all eyes back here on the Maple Leafs getting set to host the Pittsburgh Penguins tonight. These guys are always at home, man. Another 4-game homestand coming up. Start with the Pens tonight. But how about this? It looks like Willie Nylander will be returning to the lineup, skating at the morning skate on a line with Cowan and Tavares. The top line, Nyes, Matthews, and Robertson. And of note, your boy Bob McMahon, could he be a healthy scratch tonight? You know what his stats are over the last 8 games, Rosie?
Not good.
0 goals, 0 assists, 0 points. And he played 11:43 on Saturday night. It's been a tough stretch here for Bob McMahon, but some seismic changes to that Maple Leafs roster in anticipation here of this game against Pittsburgh. Not to mention, we'll talk about the Tanev injury as well, but another game they just need to get here tonight.
Yeah, they do. Interesting. I mean, like, credit to Bobby McMahon the last few games. He has been finding a way and he has been effective. And, we know that Bobby McMahon's ceiling is high. His best is good. It's just what's your worst and how often can you be at your best? And I think his knock has just been he can't play that well consistently or anywhere close to it consistently. And then it's like you look at like we're doing with McMahon right now. Sorry, I'm talking about Nick Robertson. What did I say? Bobby McMahon.
Bob McMahon. Whatever.
I'm talking about Nick Robertson.
Yeah.
Nick Robertson has been knocked for his consistency. They're both similar, right? They're not that consistent, but Robertson has been the guy who gets, you look back and you go, okay, why are you in the top 6 again? Like you haven't done anything in 6-7 games, even though you had those 2 big goals when you got first put in. But to his credit, this time 5 games straight now, he has been effective. He has been noticeable. He's been getting on the score sheet and doing his job. So I understand why he's on that top line. And on the flip side right now, Bobby McMahon, the first couple of games, I saw a lot of speed. I saw some physicality. I saw his shot rip off, and he has got a good one. But you just can't be that ineffective that many games in a row. Like he has been a ghost. Like you have to be able to stand out in some way, shape, or form. Like for all I care, it's a huge forecheck where you are just chasing that D-man down and just crunch him against the boards and then mad scramble for the loose puck and center it and bang in while you hit his chest and it's a face-off. Something like that, but nothing. Haven't even seen the guy and not good enough, right? And, you get a lot of runway, like 8 games and just bagels. You need to do something different and just simply find a way and show some urgency, which I think is a great word for this team so far this season and what they're lacking, what they need to do to get back on board. And luckily we saw it a little bit of it here last game, but not so much with Bobby McMahon. And for that reason, yeah, he might be watching from the rafters here this Monday.
I like the idea of lighting a fire under this guy's ass. If you recall, he was a health bomb in the first game of last season, really started to cook. But we haven't, you're right, like consistency has been the big thing with Bob McMahon. That is, I think, the differentiator from like star players and good players in this league, guys who can find it on a nightly basis or every other game. And some of these guys like Robertson and McMahon just really, really struggle with that. So we'll see what the lineup looks like tonight. Speaking of which, we got James Duthie coming on in about 15 minutes from now. He's got a new book. Going to get his thoughts on the Maple Leafs season, their start. So Duthie coming up here, Rosie.
Sweet. Yeah, obviously well-known man in the media business. So we'll talk his book a little bit and then pick his brain about what they've been seeing out of the Maple Leafs so far this year. Not quite at U.S. Thanksgiving, but
getting
it's
there.
Starting to, the light's starting to be shone on the track record of the team. And we're starting to evaluate what is it and what is it not. And I was thinking, kind of side note, they're back at home again tonight and on Wednesday. Maybe they're, how some years you look back, you're like, man, that's really weird. They're terrible at home or else they're fantastic on home. Like teams do that all the time. They have a drastically different record on home and on the road. And I know that their record at the small bit they've played on the road isn't fantastic, but maybe they are a road team. And, it's funny. You don't usually see them having that lopsided of home and road games so far in the season, but here's another 2 at home. So maybe they're a road team. We'll see. But again,
Yeah.
we'll reflect on the runway, and Duthie's going to help us with that.
Yeah, it's been a weird start to the year with all these home games, and I think you can speak to it being the former player. Like, you want to get on the road early in the season, build that camaraderie, build that friendship, and they haven't been able to. They've just been one-offs and back at it, and they got the rare back-to-back at home next weekend, Boston, Carolina, Saturday, Sunday. Like, it's been a weird schedule for this Maple Leafs team thus far. Meantime, don't forget to check out tonight's edition of the Leafs Nation After Dark with Zach Phillips directly following the end of this Leafs-Pittsburgh game, which is on Prime, by the way. So check that out at the Leafs Nation 41 on YouTube. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. Crave the Stats is a presentation of Uber Eats. Every time the Leafs play at home, you can get these exclusive deals only on Uber Eats. Firehouse Subs, Bogo Brisket Hat Trick, Kibo Sushi, Bogo California Roll, Shelby Shawarma, Bogo Traditional Wrap. That's right, buy one, get one. Before, during, and after the game, Uber Eats is assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long. So I was probably one of 20 to actually watch this game over the weekend on Saturday against Philadelphia, but I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was the prototypical Craig Berube type game, although they surrendered the first goal for the 6th time in the last 7 outings. But hey, the stats prove right again, Rosie. 10 of 11 they've now won against the Philadelphia Flyers, eh?
Yeah, there are. I'm resigned to the fact that there are patterns that
Are
span
ya?
through the seasons. Yeah, it definitely is. No, needed one there. I agree. Like, the pattern of them being scored on first has got to stop. I mean, I don't know what the numbers are. I remember used to thinking it was like 80% or 78% chance the team who scores first ends up winning the game. But it's just indicative of the fact that when that happens, you are now behind the 8 ball and you are chasing, and you have to flip the script and get 2 to get. It's difficult to do, and you certainly put yourself behind the 8 ball when you're constantly being scored on first. And to me and to the coaches, historically, that's a piss off, because it shows that it's a mental preparation focus type of thing, right? And that's 100% in your control. And when you're trying to get your season on track and try to rectify some wrongs that have been happening after a subpar start here for the Leafs, to not be prepared to start the game is just it's just unacceptable at the end of the day. So a problem they need to rectify for sure, which could help out the results at the end of the game, if they can get that under control for sure. But not to be negative, showed some good things. Again, the word I used there, urgency, earlier, and you had mentioned it before the show, seemed like they had some urgency, and they were kind of following a game plan that they were all on board with, and because of it, they got rewarded.
It just sort of pisses you off when you see that type of effort in that game, because they have it in them, and it's like, where was that? Like, that's what annoyed me watching that game. I'll be clear about that. Like, you're without Willie Nylander too, and you put forth a gutsy effort. They executed too. I thought it was a much better outing for Austin Matthews. He sniped vintage Matthews, +3, 5 shots on goal, maybe his best outing of the season. We talked about Robertson. I think there's a short shelf life to this. We all know his consistency issues, but he's looking really good, man. I think if you had to look the last couple games, one of the top players in the Leafs has been Nick Robertson. And I think it's a vote of confidence, too, that, Nylander looks like he's coming back into the lineup, and he's going to line 2. They're keeping Robertson with Matthews, which I like rewarding players for good play.
Yeah, I get why you put them together when things weren't going well, but I would prefer if they were apart. I want that depth and separation, and be able to, take your pick on the lines and have the opposition scrambling on how are you gonna defend against that much firepower. So if they can get their own individual lines going, I think that's a benefit to the team for sure, and how they had it drawn up in an ideal world beforehand. With Nick Robertson, I'm just giving him his flowers. I'm not going to say this isn't going to last.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say this is a short shelf life. Hey, you've got that in you. Team's not doing awesome. You found opportunity when, you didn't start with it, but, the team wasn't doing great, and you got given an opportunity and you took the reins, as you have many times before. The pattern back then was it doesn't last long, but here's a 5-game stretch where, he is 100% being effective and doing his job, and deserves a spot in the lineup and deserves a spot in the top 6, which is kind of where he needs to play with his skill set, which has kind of been his Achilles heel. Is he hasn't really performed consistent enough to warrant a spot on this heavy top 6 team. So I am not going to say this is not going to last. I am going to say keep doing your thing, Nicky Bobby. Keep putting the hammer down, finding the seams, finding the opportunities, and being clutch and pulling the trigger and getting the job done. I love it. I want to watch it. I want this guy to be a staple in the lineup if that's what he's going to do. And I know the history, but I'm going to choose to, give him his flowers and say, you have done everything you've asked for. Now keep on doing it.
Life comes at you very, very quickly. And for Easton Cowan, he's been waiting his entire life to score his first NHL goal and goes cheddar. You got to love that. But he's been buzzing the last couple games, almost to the point where I don't know if this is desperation or not, or rewarding a young player for playing really, really well the last couple of games. But Cowan's going to be on PP1 tonight. I guess it can't get much worse, right? It looks like the morning skate, Cowan's with Matthews, Tavares, Nylander, and Riley on PP1. So Matthew Nye's now on PP2.
Yeah, Nicey, interesting. Look, we've been talking about the power play. What's wrong with it? And what I don't know. There's no reason that power play should be bad, but it is. So I am all about tinkering with it, messing around with it, trying to find something, shake something loose, have a different look, have someone that goes to the right bloody seam and finds a way to be effective. And maybe that is Easton Cowan. The one thing I love there is after how disappointing it was to see John Tavares' 500th goal be during a blowout against Columbus and absolutely zero reaction to it. As a guy who doesn't like to make things about himself in the first place, flip side of it, Easton Cowan gets his first goal, and the happiest guy on the bloody ice is John Tavares, giddy with excitement for the kid. He continues to be a guy that does everything right and is so likable and is the consummate professional and a leader who did deserve the C, whether he still has it or not. Unreal teammate, and you can see it on his face there on how happy he was about Easton Cowan getting his first goal in the NHL days after he got his 500th.
Do we take Chris Tanev for granted? Watching that game, it's like it takes a lot for Tanev not to get back up. And, it was unfortunate, everything around the Blue Jays. Like, many people weren't tuned in, but Chris Tanev was stretchered off. And a weird-looking play coming back from a concussion or suspected concussion, collides there with Michkov, as you see. Precautionary, it seems. He's been placed on IR, but he's back in Toronto, which is excellent news. But that's some scary stuff. Anytime you see any player get stretchered off, you think the worst, unfortunately.
Well, it's never a good sight. You got to be saying and feeling some serious things for them to call on the stretcher, right? And we're not privy to too much information about these injuries, but we can kind of read between the lines. Everyone just assumes concussion. I think potential neck something too. Like, if you look at the 2 injuries he's had this year that have brought him out of games, none of them have been vicious contact to the head. I do understand that the whiplash and the quick movement of the head can cause a concussion as well, but it could be something to do with the neck or the spine. And when you're laying there, and obviously he was hit in a way that he wasn't prepared for it, and his neck absolutely jarred. Yes, possible concussion, but if he's also being like, I felt a shooting numbness down my leg or something, that's just like, Kate, you are not moving. We are taking you to the hospital, and we are being 100% cautious with this. Again, just speculating. I don't know, but both of them looked like there was trauma to the neck and also to the head. But God damn it, it is just the last thing we need. You talk about Jake Muzzin, a guy that this team 100% could have been relying on the last couple of years. His entire career was cut short from this type of an issue. So, everyone's waiting and nothing but well wishes being sent to Chris Tanev, but they are going to miss him. And if they don't have him for any stretch of time, they're going to suffer on the back end. And it's shitty because last year the story was we don't have to talk about the D. Like, they are locked down, they are solid. There's not much to talk about except reminding everyone, oh yeah, and how solid have our D corps been playing. And that has not been the case this year, even with Chris Tanev in the lineup. But it's not going to go the right direction if he's out for any large amount of time. And obviously, the first consideration is his health in general. But when that funnels down after that, you look at the team and go, man, there's a gaping hole there. And yeah, I do think that everybody takes Chris Tanev for granted, and we're probably going to start feeling that.
Yeah, it's really scary stuff, and we hope wish him a speedy recovery. And you never know when guys are stretchered off. Like it really felt precautionary after the fact because of the wording and the release on Sunday, discharge after precautionary reasons of staying in the hospital. So that's positive news. I mean, there's not much in terms of like when he could be potentially be back, but it really feels like he's avoided, just reading in between the lines, avoided something very, very serious here. But anytime you lose somebody like Tanev, especially a guy who eats pucks for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, man, like to have this guy not get up, like he's the one guy who always gets up. That's what was scary for me is he's a guy who always battles back.
Yeah, like there's no issue on his commitment level or toughness level. I mean, that's
Yeah,
long been proven and established, right? Again, I hope that this is a lot less than it looked. Again,
yeah,
you say the one word in the medical world, you say a word and that just triggers a response. And sometimes that's being precautionary and you could call it overreactive, but when you're talking about
yeah,
someone's head or spine or neck, there's really no such thing. And these guys all have their courses and certificates and their degrees and all the rest of it, and you learn from the get-go. You don't dick around with certain things. If an athlete or anyone else says a buzzword, then you you open the possibility of there being some serious things happening, and you take your precautions, whether it makes it look worse than it is or not. And I hope that that is 100% what it is, and that Chris Tanev is walking around the locker room and they're assessing him and saying, "Okay, how much time do we need? We just need you to feel 100%. Maybe you rushed back, or maybe you thought, I don't know." And I assume that the two injuries are related,
yeah,
but maybe they're not. Again, we're not privy
yeah.
to it, but all we're gonna know is how long the guy is out for, and if and when he comes back. And I just pray that it's short and that it's less than it looked. But again, there's something going on for them to trigger a stretch or be brought onto the ice during a National Hockey
Yeah.
League game. And we just hope that he recovers fast, and this isn't as serious as of a incident as it looked out there when they're bringing that kind of stuff out.
Over and above that, you got to step up if you're Phil Myers or Dakota Mermis. Like in the short span we've seen Myers this year, he has not looked good. And you can say that across the board for Toronto's D Corps. And now losing maybe your best defensive defenseman, I think this is going to be a telltale sign in how things go for the Maple Leafs the next little while as they get set to host the Pittsburgh Penguins here on a Monday night in Toronto. I think moving forward, too, I think you just got to demonstrate consistency up and down the roster when you look at this Maple Leafs team. And I was sort of laughing, too, like deployment of their goaltending will be intriguing this week. They got Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday, the back-to-back. We have no idea what's going on with Joseph Woll when he potentially could return. Maybe they're looking at Primo to play Sunday against Carolina, one of the top teams in the league. I know it's a revenge look. He was put on waivers by them, but it'll be an interesting week for this team, how they deploy Stolars. But I was just laughing over the weekend. Like, he is their resident tough guy. I don't know if you saw that clip, but he just pulled Trevor Zegras from the pile. Like, I love that. He's got Ron Hextall in him, and I really enjoy that.
Yeah, he's got some grit to him. I like goalies with that as long as they keep it in check. And I like guys that are confident and aggressive. Like, look at this. Like, get out of
Yoink.
here, you rat. And look at Zegras. Just he's such a little bitch.
He's still talking shit. Hey, I love that.
I kind of, I I don't know. I was wondering how Zegras was going to do if he's going to perform there in Philly.
Yeah.
Um, then albeit play like that. It's when you're doing nothing offensively and still being a little rat and a little chicken that it gets on my nerves. But he's been in the news for a couple of reasons, and hey, I'm starting to think he's a guy that you might want on his team, although yet to be determined. But he makes me chuckle, and I love Stoli going over there, grabbing him by the scruff of the neck, and him having absolutely no response, of course. But I like Stoli's competitiveness. I like his vigor. I wish that more guys had it, to be honest with you. Too many guys on this roster are vanilla. They're just vanilla with their play. Like, get some grit, get some passion, get some give a shit meter going, and I think that it would translate to better hockey, and you can will yourself to more wins, and the urgency will be there, and the intensity. God damn, I've said that word a lot, but it's because there's such a lack of it. And you see your goaltender going in there grabbing a guy by the scruff of the neck. Whoa. Why aren't the D-men doing that? Why aren't the bottom six guys doing that type of thing? It's like they don't even think about it, which I think is pretty frustrating for fans when the whole theme of this year is we are recreating an identity that's going to be a little tougher, a little bruisey, or a little harder to play against. And I think their record shows, and everyone can see that they haven't really adopted that to the fullest of their ability yet, not even close.
Good reminder from producer Vic here in our show chat behind the scenes. Zegras and Stolarz played together in Anaheim, so I guess they're playing a bit of tummy sticks after the fact. They're hugging it out, but still, I love that Stoli goes in there. No, we know nobody else is going in there to grab a guy. So if it's Stoli, it's Stoli. I don't care if he's best friends with the guy. He still pulled him out of the scrum and just begging and pleading for somebody else to do that. Anyways, at the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. We're very, very happy to bring in today's guest from TSN. It's the legendary James Duthie. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Awesome, boys. Thanks for having me. Good to be back. Oh, my goodness. My head looks large. I got to adjust this thing here.
Oh, now you're going to cause Vic fits.
It's always when you go onto these things and you see your camera and it's got like the whole shot of the room, and then all of a sudden you guys box it up and you have this giant head. So I'm hopefully
it's okay. It's okay. We're hanging in there. I don't know if you feel the same way. I feel hungover. I haven't drank in a while. It's just like, why do you think this city can't seem to catch a break? Like, I still can't get over what happened on Saturday night for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, I had 2 beer, I think, total at the game, and I felt I felt like it was a 20 shot, like 1998 Cancun night for me. I was there, and I was sitting in the section of all season ticket holders. And look, everybody felt the pain across the country, but I felt so much for these guys who've been coming. The 2 guys next to me have become 20 years season ticket holders, same seats. And the pain that, first of all, it was like, and I'll fully admit, like, I've been bandwagoning, I really didn't get on board with this team till probably late August. And I was like living and dying with every pitch like everybody else. So I just can't imagine these folks who, and it was just, I think you can, if you could have a heartbreak measurer, it would be the amount of moments that could have gone the other way. And I think there must be a dozen of 2-inch or 1-pitch moments in this game that if they go slightly the other way, the Jays win the World Series. I was thinking, I'm a Niners fan. When the Niners lost the last Super Bowl in overtime to the Chiefs, it was a game like that. I went back afterwards and thought of 15 different plays that if they went the Niners' way, they win the Super Bowl. And that was the way it was for the Jays. And I can't imagine, I tweeted this the other day, like I play like beer league football, and I still think about like painful last second losses that happened in like a city championship. So I can't imagine going through the rest of your career in life, with, like Ernie Clement was so great. And that ball's 1 inch to the left or the right. And it hits the wall, or that center fielder who came in doesn't come over and get it. And the forced play at home, which I think is the worst. I've been haunted about that for 24 hours because if he had a 6-inch bigger lead, and he should have, by the way, I don't want to put it on one guy, but it's just like when you have all those moments that you can go over and over, that's what makes it more painful. I was saying to my buddies yesterday, if the Jays had lost in 5 in the World Series, I think it would have been so much more palatable, because you would have said, what an unbelievable season. And man, the Dodgers are just so good. Even maybe if they'd lost like 6-1 in Game 7, you would have said, wow, again, what a great season. Tough to blow a 3-2 lead, but the Dodgers are incredible. But to have it happen in that way, and a roundabout way of getting to your question, Toronto just finds a way to lose in the most tortuous ways in sport. Like all teams have, crippling losses, but Toronto losses are always just in the most painful. Tease that you have it, make people believe that you have it, and then it gets snatched away. And that's a tough thing. I just feel so bad for all those players and all the fans.
One difference I thought about it is how proud everybody is of that team and what they did. And yes, I agree with you, with the margins being that thin and then being that close, it probably makes it hurt more. but we've seen in the past in Toronto some disgusting losses and some egregious,
Right.
blowing
This wasn't
up
like
of
games.
series.
Well, this wasn't like the Leafs in the spring, right? The way they lost those 2 games against Florida. And you're so right. And the other thing,
And
Jay,
maybe
is
we can
like,
find some solace in that, right?
yeah, and when I did, I think I said something like, "I've never been more heartbroken for a team," which I felt that way for all those players. But I get like Mariner fans writing me and saying, "Try being us," who've never got there, right? Like who've always been
Mhm.
close, never got there. And you have to think of that as much as Toronto fans think they're cursed. Well, the Blue Jays won the American League pennant. Teams haven't got there. The Raptors did win the NBA championship just a few years ago. So it's not like those cities who just have perennial losers forever and ever and never get it done. There's a lot of good here, but it is incredible how they find more painful ways to lose.
Oh, it hurts. It hurts. And I was saying over the weekend, I'm not really an emotional person. I was just overwhelmed with emotion. I wasn't even at the game. I'm like, I've been waiting my whole life as a baseball fan first before anything and playing the sport just to see a Blue Jays team win the World Series. Although I was young, 92, 93, I'm an 89 born. And just to
Yeah.
see it snatched away really, really hurt. I mean, focusing more on the Maple Leafs, I truly feel like they can learn a lot from this run for the Blue Jays in terms of playing as a team. The Blue Jays are everything we want the Maple Leafs to be, I think, Duthie.
Yeah. Sorry, one more thing on it too. When you were mentioning 92, 93, so I was an Expos fan first. And that was when I was a kid, baseball was my favorite sport. I listened to every single Expos game in the radio in French when I didn't really understand half of it. And I was a teenager when Rick Monday hit the home run in 1981. I think it was game 5 it was the final game of the NLS. I think it was only a 5-gamer back then. And this weekend really brought me back to that because it was the Dodgers and because it was like those 3 home runs, it was like kind of Rick Monday times 3, right? In the way they ate away the one off Savage and then the one off Hoffman and then the game-winning one. But yeah, I think you're right. I think that the reason it hurts as well is because the city and the country fell in love with this team so much because it was so likable. Like just everything about them, the way Vladdy played this year, guys like Ernie Clement, who just were so easy to fall in love with. And I mean, I think there have been likable Leaf teams. I mean, every Jay Rosehill team, extremely likable.
Not really.
But you know what I mean? Like, I don't think, and perhaps it's just a result of, what's happened in the playoffs the last, whatever it is, 9 years. I'm not sure that the fan base has loved a Leafs team at all like the way they love the Jays. And I would have said that even if they lost in the ALCS or whatever, even if they'd gone out in the playoffs. There was something about this team that I think all the stuff that the guys said about how much they loved each other was genuine. It doesn't always happen in baseball, by the way. There's tons of egos in baseball. And I think there's a lot of teams where it's a very individualistic team. So it's rare that this happens. I'd love to see a Leafs team that the fan base truly fell in love with, not just because they got through the first round or the second round, but just because of the way they are. I don't think we're at that point right now with this group. And no offense to this group, they can change that during the season. But I don't know how Nick, I don't know how you manifest that. It just sort of has to happen naturally, and it has to be the personalities. So it's possible, and it has to be in the way they play. And certainly we're not seeing that so far as a whole.
Yeah, and you mentioned they're not there yet. Obviously, a work in progress. We knew some changes were coming after this summer, and patience might have to be a key in it. But what do you take so far after their 6-5-1 start?
I don't think we know who they are. I don't think they know who they are. The slow starter thing has kind of happened fairly often with this group, and I think that part of it. This is my own theory that people might scoff at, but I honestly think that part of it is when you make the playoffs every year and then you have the heartbreak that you've had every single year in the playoffs, that there is a bit of a psychological hurdle to leap at the beginning of the season when you know that, first of all, you always expect you're going to be in the playoffs, and you know that all that matters, no matter how great a season you have, is going to be what you do in May and hopefully at some point June. but late April and May for now. And so I do think that is a hurdle to get over to start the season. That, oh my God, we got 6 months here before it really matters to us. And again, that's just my own take on things, that they're slower starters because of that it takes a little more to get over the hangover of what happened last spring. Now, the danger in that now, I think they've always had enough talent that you could overcome the slow starts, no problem. They were always going to be good enough to make the playoffs just on pure talent. And the way the division has changed, that might be a question this year. I still think they're good enough to make the playoffs for sure. But I think the Atlantic has the possibility of being full-scale nutso, in the sense that, there are signs that obviously Buffalo and Detroit might be better. And at some point, Florida might take a little bit of a drop here just because they played so much hockey and the Barkov injury and so on. Tampa's kind of been up and down so far, rolling a little bit. And Ottawa's kind of Ottawa's kind of what the Leafs have done so far. They've been completely erratic so far. But I think you have the potential there for a division where we could get to March and you might have 6 teams within 5 or 6 points of one another, which would be really fun, but a lot dicier than the Leafs have had in recent memory. And so that's the danger of a slow, sort of sluggish start this year, unlike other years where you knew the talent would eventually overcome. This year, you never know. Like, you cannot take it for granted, and there's a possibility they'll be in a real race for the playoffs come the end of the year. So, long-winded way of saying I don't know what they are. They're giving up, when you're 28th in the league or whatever it is at goals against, and it's more than a half a goal a game more than last year. And, your starter, who has had the best save percentage in the league, like for the last 2 years among semi-regular goalies, is somewhere around 890 or whatever it is. You can't have those things. And when you have a power play with that much talent that's also down 28th or 29th or whatever it is in the league at 12.5%, you can't have any of those things and expect to just cruise and be in first or second place. So, and obviously, I'm sort of elephant in the room is that Matthews has not been nearly good enough. And he's got to prove that it's not just Marner missing as the reason.
Much better Saturday night, Austin Matthews. We'll see what he brings forth here for this game against the Pittsburgh Penguins. But
and by the way, full disclosure, missed that game completely. Tried to catch up and watch it on fast forward yesterday before I watched NFL. So I watched it in about a half an hour, but I was like everybody else who was, I felt a little guilty because completely tuned into the Jays. But yeah, they did look.
No, it's fair. I said I was one of 20 to watch the game. I had the dual screen going. I watched the game at home. It's tough for me to watch.
I'd be curious in the ratings. I don't get caught up in ratings much, but for Saturday night, that's probably going to be the lowest rated Leafs game on a Saturday night in a long time.
I would think so.
For good reason.
Has to.
And it's probably a big break. Probably a big break for them, the Jays, because of the way they played so far. Right, to sort of not be noticed is probably a good thing for how bad that start was.
I wanted to ask you about the pressure as well in the market. Do you feel like there's patience? Like the one thing I've been thinking about a lot the last week with the struggles early on in the season, at which point are the players to blame? Like, you've been around for a long period of time covering various different sports over your illustrious career. When do you blame the players? Can you blame the players? Because how many coaches, GMs are they going to go through in this market? It's the same old same with this team.
Well, I think you're 100% at the point you can. That doesn't mean 100% falls on the players. You can still, and again, I temper all of this with the little asterisk above my shoulder that I still think it's super early. And, so we shouldn't be sitting here doing a complete rip job on the Leafs. But, if they were 3-9-2 or something like that, but whatever it is, 6-5-1 is not awful. And I think they're 7th as we talk right now, and they win tonight and they're 3rd. That's how goofy the Atlantic is right now. But, 100%. Like, you can get on Brad Treliving for, maybe the acquisitions aren't working so far, and you can get on Berube, but I think it's crazy not to blame the players at some point. And I don't really feel like they haven't been blamed over the years. I think they've gotten their share of it for the failures, and they deserve it. I always feel like, a coach is 10% of it. Obviously, the personnel that you acquire is a big chunk, maybe let's say 25, 30% of it or whatever. but because there's only 2 or 3 changes in an off season, it percentage doesn't probably work that high. But I always think the players are probably 70% of it, and when you get to the playoffs, it's probably 90% of it. So I think it's 100% right to blame the players for the way it is right now, and every single one of them would agree to that and say they know they have to be better. As for the pressure in the market, it is funny. I always gauge my golfing buddies at my golf course who are, there's a big group chat. All they've been talking about is the Jays for the last 3 weeks, but it usually will be about the Leafs. And, it's pretty ugly right now as far as these guys suck. These guys are terrible. You guys know what it's like, right? And they don't suck, and they're not terrible. They're 6-5-1, and they haven't looked great. They look better on the weekend, and we'll see if they get it together or not. And it's no different that, the same group chat, if they were 9-2-1 right now, would be getting ready for the parade. So,
well, you do know their history, that's for sure. Duth, you got a lot of history in the game. You're writing books about them right now. Tell us about your latest here, and plug your book a little bit. I imagine it'll be a hell of a good read.
Oh, thank you, brother. And I actually was. You're an omission that I sort of make this write down list of guys that I would like to have stories from in my book, and then I never get to half of them. And you were on that list, and part of it is because when you write a book like this, and it's called Certified Beauties, it's a sequel to a book I wrote a few years ago called Beauties. Sorry, product placement. And my idea was, I was reading a couple of hockey biographies a few years ago, I think during COVID when I was bored, and they're all great, but usually there's like 2 or 3 awesome stories in the book, and then you get the rest is kind of like the life story. I grew up in a small town and all that, and I thought, what if you could cut out everything else and only put great stories in the book? So my idea was that I would go to guys and say, like, if I went to Jay, if it was Nick and Jay and I sitting in a bar, and we said, Jay, tell me your favorite story from your career. I don't care if it's the craziest game you played in. I don't care if it was something that happened in the dressing room or on a road trip. Just tell me the story that you would tell your best buddies. And that was kind of the premise for it. Beauties did pretty well, and so we decided to do a sequel. But what I was getting at was, I make this list, and then I'll talk to somebody, and they'll say, you got to talk to this guy or this guy. So I'll get onto this guy or that guy, and then they'll say, you got to talk to this guy or this guy. And then suddenly I'm done the book with 50 more guys that I wanted to talk to. So if I do another one, if Jay doesn't mind, I'll have to look him up, because I do find that, like everything else in life, like the tough guys, there'll be a disproportionate amount of tough guys in my book because they're the greatest characters and usually tell the greatest stories. So it's a really fun book, good bathroom reading, short little chapters that you can put up.
Love that.
And put.
Awesome.
It's great.
I'll just add, Rosie was just on Spit and Chicklets, and it was one of my favorite episodes ever. It was like an hour and a half of this guy talking about his life and his career. So check that out, and I think you'll have.
It was the actual moment. I heard or was listening to a clip, and they said Rosie was coming on, and I literally slapped myself as I was driving and said, that's one guy I didn't get to for the book that I'm going to regret. Chicklets, by the way, is like a curse. Like Chicklets, and I will say this, like I started writing the first book right around the time Chicklets was starting. And they've sort of brought storytelling back to the forefront. And I think that it allowed probably my book to be successful, is because people wanted to hear stories again. It's also a curse though, because I'll give you a quick story. There's Darcy Hordichuk's story in the book where he captures an alligator and leaves it on Roberto Luongo's front porch, which is a great story. And no one had he never told it before publicly. And so it's in the book. And then he goes on Chicklets, and I'm listening one day driving, and it was Luongo that was on Chicklets. And I'm like driving going, please don't tell the alligator story. Please don't tell the alligator story. And then boom, he tells the alligator story. So sometimes you get this overlap, with podcasts, but most of the stories I think you'll have never heard before. So you'll like them.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. Thank you so much for doing this, and we'll talk later on this season. Okay.
Okay, boys. Thanks a lot. Enjoy what you do.
Thanks, Duth. Appreciate it.
Our pleasure. Thank you. Take care. That's the great James Duthie over at TSN. Make sure you can find the book right now. Certified Beauties, more of hockey's greatest untold stories. And Rosie, you ever thought about writing a book? I think it was year one we did the podcast some guy approached you about writing a book. We both laughed about it. I'm like, hey, man, you should think about it. I think it'd be good knowing some of your stories.
Yeah, shit. It's crossed my
You want
mind.
me to
My
write the
sister's-
forward?
Yeah, maybe. It's something to spitball. Well, my sister's actually pretty good writer and good with words, and she's skilled in that department. So she's kind of mentioned it. We'll see one day. Again, funny thing, you go on checklist and you tell your stories, then who has to read the book? But I'm sure I could dig out a few other things, make it happen. But there's no official plans at the moment, that's for sure.
I thought you were going to go on there and talk about your time bumping in Alex Ovechkin last year. Was it last year or the year before in Vegas? But you didn't. You held that one off for the second appearance on Chicklets, I think.
Yeah, possibly.
You've told the story on the show. Don't worry about it. Not like I'm feeding you.
Yeah, I told it
information.
poorly. It's trying to protect him a little bit, but I ended up
Yeah,
making
I get
myself sound like I was being a dickhead, which I don't think I was. But nonetheless,
No.
yeah, there's more stories in the arsenal. We'll bring them out in time.
Yes, sir. At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Again, thank you once again to James Duthie for dropping by. More from the morning skate, man. Like, this league's tough to cover sometimes. But Craig Berube saying Bob McMahon is not out of the lineup tonight. We've got decisions to make, whatever that means. So throw everything we said earlier on about Bobby Ball game potentially being a health bomb, eating the popcorn, the great popcorn in the press box. Not sure if that's going to come to fruition. Nylander was taking line rushes. Maybe that's what he means is Nylander could be a game time decision, but no confirmation one way or another that Bob McMahon's not or going to play against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, like would she pull Yarncroak out or Blay? I thought Blay has looked pretty.
Blay's been good, man.
Like,
2 games. I thought he was effective again on Saturday. I felt small sample size, but doing his job.
I noticed him a little bit too, and obviously when guys are chomping at the bit to get in there, it's been a long time for him to play in this league, but he gets a chance, and I think he's done exactly what they've asked of him, right? He's banging, he's a bulldog out there. He's not passing up opportunities and shots, and he's creating things out of nothing. Like that's what you need. Now, I certainly wouldn't pull him out. I'll see if can you do that on a consistent basis. That is what this team is 100% looking for. So you keep looking around. Robertson used to be the guy that you could yank out and say you haven't done anything in 3 or 4 games. Certainly not the case right now. He's up on the top line. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Like the fact that he said that but didn't announce a lineup is really a head scratcher. I wonder if he'll do something unique or creative or out of the blue here. Time's definitely going to tell, but remember, Scott Lawton is going to be coming back sooner than later as well. So all of a sudden we might be having a conversation of there being a logjam of forwards again, like we were during training camp. And, cream needs to rise to the top here, boys. You want a spot in this league. You want to be a piece of something of this team, and you want to be part of the fabric that makes it good and makes people get behind it. And you're a piece of the momentum that wants to go forward and take this division by storm and rectify the shitty October again and have yourself, in a great position, feeling confident going into the playoffs. You boys need to step up right now. Like who fucking wants it? Next up, let's go. I like this competition. I like the logjam. Somebody step up and do what this team is asking of you, and you'll have yourself a spot in the lineup.
Man, they got 5 lines now. I think you make a really good point where this could be the week that Robertson gets traded. I know we've been counting that down for 3 years, but he's playing well. There's a log jam. Like it seems like everything's aligning for that to come to fruition. I don't want to bury the fact that he's been good, but that's not changing my opinion on trading this guy. I still think he's going to get dealt. But you're right. Lorentz has to come back at some point too. Like he's good to go. Nylander, by the way, proclaiming he is good to go. So Nylander is going to play in this game. But there's a massive logjam, especially when you throw in there like Sammy Blais, a couple games, but he's a guy who brings something a bit different, coming off a really good camp with the Montreal Canadiens, plays heavy. They don't have much of that right now, and that's why I think it'll make decisions very difficult over the next little while.
Yeah, well, and maybe that'll mean that the blender will continue, and they're going to keep trying guys, and if they get a bunch of healthy bodies, man, then it's going to be difficult to make this this roster, this lineup every single night. But again, you're searching for things, you're looking for things. There are words and there are things that Craig Berube has been repeating in that room over and over again. I guarantee you, I know some of the phrases we've been repeating on this show over the last few weeks. They're looking for something. And when you, like right now, I don't know if the guys know who are playing tonight. There's times I didn't know till I got to the bloody rink. And they want something. The team is missing something. And I hope these guys are chomping at the bit saying, I will give you what you are looking for. And I think that's what Sammy Blais has done. And that's why we're talking about, he being a guy that we're not considering taking out of the lineup. That's exactly what we needed at every single one of these guys. And Bobby McMahon last year, when he was on a 20-game, cold streak without scoring, I'm like, well, then do something else. Like, show that you're willing to be multifaceted. Show that you're willing to bring all kinds of different elements to the game. Show that whatever the team is lacking, you're willing to plug that hole and fill that void. Sometimes you don't see it. Again, it's like, go out of your comfort zone and just do something that everyone notices and says, God, I love that shit. Man, we need more of that. Do that. And you will find yourself in this lineup more and more. I look at this as opportunity for someone to step up. It's not like every single one of these guys at the bottom of that chart on that fifth line that we're talking about are all firing on all cylinders and creating, all the right things in the game and are these assets that just you can't pull to the lineup. There is opportunity to leapfrog all those guys by doing the right things that this coach has probably been asking of you guys all year long. Like, the formula is simple. Go up, show up, and unload your tank doing whatever is asked of you. And that is a very likable trait that everyone will get behind, and you'll be a hard guy to pull out of the lineup.
Amen. Craig Berube on Chris Tanev, by the way, he's doing fine. He's back home here. He stayed overnight for precautionary reasons. Again, Nylander saying he's good to go. And we'll just add that over the weekend, we found out that David Kampf has taken his talents home and just awaiting something. Like, I don't know what's going to happen with Kampf. Like, we forgot about Kampf. The guy got sent to the American Hockey League. I guess he views himself as an NHL player, and he's gone home. He's I don't even know what the terminology was on it, but he's not playing for the Marlies right now.
He's taking a leave. Yeah, I don't know, with that much money. Like, as soon as they signed that, I'm like, why the hell are they giving that much money? Like, what kind of leverage did he have as a fourth line, pretty solid enough guy? Like, nothing against Kampf, just doesn't wow you, and he's making a good chunk of dough, which is why he finds himself not on this roster. Sometimes you guys, a contract will take you right off the team. You think it sounds like really good security, but sometimes it's not. I would be, it's tough. He's still got a few years left on that ticket, and to be buried in the minors right now, I would think his best course of action would be to put the word out that you want to get dealt, but no one's going to take on your contract because it's too big, right? It's interesting. And I guess he feels like he's got a lot of good hockey left to give. He's thinking long-term about his career. Maybe he'll walk away from this contract or take a buyout of some kind. And
would you do that though? Like a mutual termination? Like, that's a lot of money to leave. Like,
well, could he be bought? Could he be bought out, or does it have to be just walk away?
No, I think it would be terminating the contract. I don't know how you can pass up that much money though. I wouldn't do it. I guess I don't know. I guess at this point in his career, he's got to make the decision: do I want to try to play in the NHL, or am I content making this money in the AHL? Right?
Yeah, that's what it is. And to really not want or feel like you don't deserve to be in the American League, and to be there and resign the fact to, well, my paycheck's too big to walk away from this. Yeah. He might get the sense that he's quitting on his dream, or he's selling himself short, or he's taking the easy way out, or he's being greedy. It might not sit well with him. And, if he could justify making it up elsewhere by getting on a team that gives him an opportunity and playing longer and having a fruitful career, he could probably justify making that money up. But what a big risk to do, man. And I wish him the best. It'd be very hard to walk away from that much money, because it is a considerable amount of cash that he's got guaranteed coming his way.
The Leafs currently carry $1.25 million on team cap when it comes to David Kampf. So we all wait with bated breath to find out what happens here with David Kampf. It's time now for the last call, brought to you by Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. Use code NATION. That's NATION, NATION. Must be 19 or older, Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you're someone you know has a gambling problem, visit ConnexOntario.ca. Simple bet for me today. I can't not play the over. 10 of 12 Maple Leafs games this season have hit the over. 5-2 the other night, so they hit the 6.5 number. I'm playing the over, Leafs Pens.
I dig it. Yeah, I know when you look at those stats, you're like, of course there would be. Why wouldn't I be hammering that all year long? Hindsight, my man. I'm gonna go kind of not against the grain, but Matthew Nyes has been fine. It's a little bit quiet, kind of. I don't know if you want to call it a demotion off the power play or whatever. I could see that lighting a fire under his ass, and him reminding everybody what he's capable of, and him getting on the board. So I got him. I'm going to take him anytime point, but I want to sprinkle a little bit on a goal as well. I think he pots one tonight.
And Crosby's in town. He likes the bright lights. Play Crosby probably too. So looking forward to that game tonight. Thank you to James Duthie for dropping by. Daryl Sutter on tomorrow's show, Rosie, from Alberta, next door to you.
Beauty. It's during the fall cattle run too. I'm surprised he had time to squeeze it into his schedule. Looking forward
Anything
to
for Jay Rosehill. We know that by this point in time when it comes to Daryl Sutter. Thank you to everybody in the chat. A lot of conversation today. You guys are very focused on the pizza. A lot of pizza conversation in the chat today. Really, really weird, actually. Yeah, man. People just talk about pizza.
That's weird. I don't get it.
They've been watching too much hockey, Maple Leafs hockey this season with all those pizzas. I guess that's it.
Serving up pizzas. Okay, that makes more sense. Turnovers.
Yes.
Odd man rushes. Yeah, I get it. I'm on
board now.
Yes,
sir. So thank you to everybody in the chat. You guys are great. At the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. On the way out, Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. Again, thank you to James Duthie. Thank you to producer Vic. For Jay Rosehill, I'm Nick Alberga. We'll talk tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews. We got clips. We got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.